right, it's time for us to take a look at this morning's international newspaper front pages that are making the news around the world now, of course. And joining us to do that is the Zimbabwean social commentator, Dorcas Gwata.
Morning, Dorcas.
Morning. Thanks for having me again.
Pleasure to have you.
Always welcome. Let's start with The Citizen. Great headline, and Candler Fury just gets hotter. This is about the Police Minister, Natin Hleko, being, well, getting grilled, being accused of withholding expert reports. He's blaming a junior. Any take on that?
James, this story will not go away.
Yeah.
This is what Barack Obama was alluding into when he was talking in Ethiopia. Great speeches. Transparency, governance in Africa depends on leaders. From that, we can see countries holding themselves together. On transparency alone, Mr. Zuma has failed this test. This is exactly what this issue is about. He's setting his stone for his retirement. Him and his 6 wives counting, 21 children counting. So on transparency alone, he's failed.
But of course, it's very important to have mood lighting, that all-important fire pool, isn't it?
So is it equally important for you, a single woman who's living in Soweto with no electricity, who's HIV positive, unemployed? We've been through this. The social disparities are too wide, and he's widening them up.
Do you think he's got away with it?
Absolutely. He'll be retiring to a fine home.
Because the other story, it's all the photos there, is all about Cecil the lion.
Indeed, very close to home. I'm very familiar with this park, Wanga National Park. I'm very familiar with the safari arrangements. A lot of money is involved in this. Hunting collects a lot of money, which feeds into our economies. Does the average Zimbabwean woman who's living around Harare know about Cecil? Did we even know about this? But there are many layers of discussion here. Africa needs to look within itself and review its hunting laws. Do we need people to come in and slaughter our animals to grow our economies? That's the bigger discussion. This dentist, if he ever practices again, and I doubt he will,
Doubt it very much.
we'll need to stand account.
I mean, the pictures on the front pages of these newspapers and the worldwide, I guess you could say, clamour for this story. It's quite amazing, really, in that sense, isn't it? Everybody around the world is talking about this story.
Not to mention the backlash against this one particular man in his own country.
The backlash.
And this is a country that loves guns and killing things.
But also the fact that, you know, it's the pride of a nation. The Cecil, the lion, is the pride of a nation, and that's a real insult to what's happened there, isn't it?
It is, and Governor, within the diaspora communities, we've been able to say, well, hang on a sec, a lion is killed, and there's this uproar.
But is it more than a lion? Is it more of a stamp on sort of Zimbabwe's national identity?
And, you know, when Mr. Mugabe speaks about land and people coming into our country and taking liberties, so this is some of what he's alluding into. But yes, the discussion has opened up quite a range of discussions which we wouldn't otherwise have.
With the value of human life versus the value of one lion.
Indeed. Life for the everyday Zimbabwean is still very, very, very difficult. The £50,000 he pays may never trickle down to the person who's living an everyday life in Zimbabwe.
Well, where would that go? Because there is certain licensing arrangements for certain levels of hunting. But, like you say, where is this money going?
We're not clear on that, but we're clear that.
More transparency.
Absolutely, absolutely. Is that the everyday life of a Zimbabwean is struggling. They will not be blinking an eye about this lion because it doesn't make a difference in their lives.
Should we move on to the Daily Mail now of the UK? On the front page there, Calais, send in the army. So we've seen the, again, amazing footage and quite shocking footage, really, of the migrants who've been trying to get from Calais into the United Kingdom via the Channel Tunnel. So the Eurotunnel operator there are struggling to contain something like 37,000 migrants trying to make the journey to the UK. I mean, is the army the solution, do you think?
I don't think so, Gavin. I think that this is a global and European issue. The army is called for because the face of Europe is changing. And so we are frightened of what we're seeing. I question the French motivation to contain this. Why would they want to contain this? People want to move on to Britain.
Yes, bye-bye.
Exactly, sort of move on to. But the government here is very, very tiptoeing eggshells around the French government. I've seen a level of resilience here and a sense of survival in these people that I just haven't seen in different populations who are travelling.
I'm still not entirely convinced I understand the reason why in Europe they can't be looked after in the country where they currently are. What is still this desperate desire after getting across the Mediterranean in many cases, ploughing their way across France, camping out in Calais, desperately trying to get to the UK. What is so special about the UK?
We must ask ourselves, what do we have here? What are we offering here that a wider European community isn't offering? What would make a 19-year-old man risk his life in a trolley and drop from an airplane onto the roof of a house? What would make them risk their entire lives to get to here? Those are sort of wider discussions, but very disturbing stories. The working conditions for everyday lorry drivers here are very strenuous.
I heard yesterday, actually, migrants' rights networks and groups who represent migrants say that it's a language that's one of the main draw factors, not necessarily the benefits culture here. Many of the migrants speak English as their main language, or
But
their preferable language.
They also speak French. They're coming from
True.
that part of
Very, very
Africa, you know, Chad, Mali and the like, so they can speak the sort of
We have a
lingua
more
franca
stable
of France.
economy, so
That's
these
true,
are
the economy
economic
too.
migrants who are mainly wanting to come here and work. They want to work because
In
they
the
want
black
to
market as well, so it's-
Absolutely, absolutely. So those arrangements are safely then. That's what they're after.
Should we move on to the Asian age quickly? I think we've got time
Yeah,
for that.
briefly. It's also reflected in the Times of India too, and it's IS wanting to attack India to draw the US into a war there.
I think we're all drawn in anyway, at any rate. I don't think ISIS could draw us anymore. I would worry about an attack in India. India is a very populous country, 1 billion people totally. So the catastrophic and the impact of any attack in India would be very, very catastrophic. But listen, we need a bigger intervention against ISIS. We are playing catch up with these guys. This is a new phenomena, and we need to move on very, very slowly.
Dorcas Gwata, thank you very much indeed for that.
Thanks for having me.
You're watching This Day Live. We'll be back at the top of the hour with a roundup of all the day's news. Stay with us.